Generating traffic and sales can be a challenge for online merchants. But selling on the Walmart Marketplace puts your products in front of millions of customers who shop on Walmart.com. And right now, sellers who join Walmart Marketplace can save up to 50% on referral and fulfillment fees for the first 90 days. So get started today. Head over to marketplace.walmart.com/savings. That's marketplace.walmart.com/savings.
Welcome to E-Commerce Conversations, a weekly podcast focusing on e-commerce topics featuring interviews with prominent people in the e-commerce space.
Welcome to E-Commerce Conversations by Practical E-Commerce. My name is Kerry Murdock. Every business, e-commerce or otherwise, should maintain accurate books and records. But for some entrepreneurs, the accounting function is intimidating and confusing. Outright.com is a company that aims to simplify the accounting process. It aims to help all entrepreneurs, regardless of their accounting skills. Outright's CEO is Steven Aldrich. He joins us today. Well, Steven, thank you for your time today.
It's great to talk with you.
Steven, we are here to talk about accounting packages and accounting, the needs for accounting for small businesses generally. You are the CEO of a online accounting package, software as a service package that's called Outright.com. My first question for you is, what is Outright?
Great question, and it's important to start by explaining to folks what we do. So Outright is targeted at small businesses and brings all of the small business owners' finances in one place. So we bring in revenue and expense without having to have the business owner re-enter data or download it into spreadsheets. So we bring your business finances into the Outright application on the web. You can access it online or via a mobile device, and it tells you how your business is doing and prepares you for your taxes.
Tell us a little bit, Steven, about the company. Who owns the company? When was it founded? Where are you located?
We're in Mountain View, California, in the heart of Silicon Valley. It was founded by a group of entrepreneurs who were small business owners, and many of us have spent literally decades working with small businesses at other software businesses like Intuit, and the company is owned by employees and venture capitalists.
Okay. When was it founded again? When was it launched?
In 2009.
Okay. There are many good accounting packages out there. Of course, you referred to Intuit, QuickBooks Parent, Intuit. There are many other accounting packages. For a merchant that's listening to this, why should a merchant consider Outright, your company, versus the other options that are there?
Outright has been built for e-commerce businesses whose data is already digital. So one of the things that we do is as soon as you sign up for Outright, you literally enter a username and a password. You tell us where you sell, and we begin pulling data into the Outright application, so it's really easy to get up and running. The time to getting value from using the Outright application is literally minutes. And then as you use the product, you discover different features and functionality of the product. So the learning curve is built in. There's no having to go study accounting or having to set up charts of accounts or having to set up permissions. You know, it's aimed at that small business owner who wants to get over the hump of getting on top of their business and wants to maintain their understanding of their business without having to re-enter data or bring data into spreadsheets or into other accounting packages that might have multiple steps along the way. So Outright is truly meant to be a simple, easy to get started, and simple and easy yet powerful tool to understand your business And on the back end, what we do that's very unique is take that data that's imported and connect it directly to tax categories so that a small business owner has all the information they need to deal with their Schedule C estimated and annual taxes, as well as their 1099K forms that they will get at the end of the year.
Is it safe to say that Outright is an accounting package for non-accountants?
I think that's a good way to put it. And when we talk to small business owners, they tell us they don't want to be accountants. They want to focus on sourcing the next interesting product, merchandising that product, deliver great service to their customers, and spend less time on the accounting and bookkeeping aspect of their business. But they still want to be on top of how their business is doing, and they still want to not have a painful end-of-year tax time, either doing it by themselves with a tax prep product or with an accountant who asks for all that data, and you're not ready to give it to him or her.
You alluded to the process, Stephen, of syncing or hooking up your software platform, Outright accounting platform, to a shopping cart. Our, of course, listeners are e-commerce merchants, and they all have shopping carts. They're hosted SaaS carts, they're licensed carts, software carts. Could you tell us how that process works for all of the different varieties of shopping carts that are out there? Could you tell us how the process works of hooking up Outright.com to those carts? Yeah.
Yes. So there are several ways that we bring data into Outright. The simplest and easiest way is to direct connect via APIs that we've already built for the small business customer to literally point and click on one of the marketplaces like eBay, Amazon, Etsy, a payment processor like PayPal. Big Cartel is a recent addition on the shopping cart front. If we don't currently support the shopping cart by a point-and-click edition, you can download data via CSV and then import all that into Outright, and we'll recognize the data as you import it and keep that up to date for you with the categories intact and allow you to manage that data inside of Outright going forward. And we're always asking for folks to tell us what additional shopping carts or merchant processors they'd like to see us add to the numbers we currently support. And so we're adding them literally every month. So the main methods of getting data into Outright are two. One, direct connect to our point-and-click partners, or download via CSV and then bring that data into Outright. You can always manually add a transaction, and some people do that as well.
Tell us some of the major carts that you have sort of the one-click, if I could use that term, where you have the API already established. You just mentioned some marketplaces there. What about just freestanding carts, e-commerce sites?
Sure. The main carts that we have are still under development. So when I think about carts that we are working on adding, if it's PayPal enabled, we'll be able to bring in that data, and there are carts such as Pavement or Shopify that are driven by PayPal. So those are carts that we currently connect to via the PayPal APIs. And then for additional carts that are down the road, you'll see shortly Big Cartel being added, and we have a number of others in the pipeline, but since they're not up and running yet, unfortunately I can't announce who they'll be. So those are the carts that are up and running at the moment. Big Cartel, Pavement, and those are direct connect and available today. If it's a PayPal payment mechanism, you can bring that data in through PayPal, and we'll be adding more partners over time. In addition, as you said, to the marketplaces or folks who run a store, for example, through an eBay store, not just the marketplace, but an eBay store or an Amazon shop, we bring that data in as well.
Okay. Is your API publicly accessible? If someone wants to tackle that themselves, or they have a developer that wants to tackle that themselves, is that available to them?
It is not customizable today, no.
Okay. So an e-commerce merchant, Stephen, to change gears on you here for a sec, an e-commerce merchant will likely have inventory if they're selling physical products, which most of our listeners and readers are. Talk to us about inventory capability on Outright. What sort of inventory capability do you have to track many different SKUs?
And we focus primarily on the sales and cost of goods that are being created through online account access and selling through the web. So we don't have an inventory module where you would enter all your SKUs in and track the number in inventory and the number that are left over. The concept of a balance sheet is built in to Outright, but we don't track inventory on a piece-by-piece basis. So we really are aimed at those sellers who are looking at revenue generation and expense from buying items that will be turned into cost of goods and inventory over time. So our inventory capability is today purposefully quite light and is aimed, again, primarily at folks who are trying to track the revenue. They can look at what products have been sold. When we import data from one of our data partners, we will bring in both the customer information and the product information, but we don't track inventory on a formal basis for someone to be able to precisely count how many items of a certain type they have left. So it's a lightweight inventory solution.
What about reporting? I intended to ask you about reporting earlier. Standard financial statements, balance sheet, income statement, that sort of thing.
The reports are, again, primarily driven around income and expense. You can look at current balances of accounts such as bank accounts, your PayPal account if you have one. You can add multiple types of bank accounts as well as money that you might owe on credit cards. So that's where the balance sheet ends. We don't track significant other assets or liabilities. If you had a loan, for example, that's not something that Outright would handle. And on the reporting side, you get a robust set of reports in best customers, states where you're selling, current taxes due, your biggest vendors, your spending over weeks, months, years, sales by state, types of income. So there's quite a robust set of reports on the income and expense side. And then you have the ability to go in and filter and drill down on the income and expenses to look at it in many different custom ways for what's right for your business.
Okay. How much does it cost?
The product is free today. We have a version of the product called Outright Plus that is $10 a month that is currently being offered for free to customers through the end of the third quarter, through the end of September, at which point you can continue to use the product in its free version, or you can upgrade to Outright Plus, and Outright Plus has additional capabilities in tax and long-term data storage and reporting on that data storage.
Okay. Let me play devil's advocate with you for a sec. And the devil's advocate question, Steven, is this. E-commerce is a typically complicated business. It's complicated because we've alluded to the inventory requirements, to SKU requirements, potentially multiple sources of revenue coming in, and it's hard to simplify the accounting for an e-commerce business. So how can a simple accounting package fit a complicated business?
I think complicated businesses still need a level of what I'll call easy to understand actionable data. And so when I think about what's important for a e-commerce business owner to know, it's, hey, what channels are working well today? Have I had repeat customers? What's my trend been over time? How am I doing in buying additional materials for the business? Is it tracking to my revenue trend? So I think those types of questions are critical to staying on top of a business owner's day in, day out life. And often those questions are hard to answer if either you're using a manual tool like Excel where you're constantly having to update and bring data in or massage that data yourself, or something that is more intimidating with a learning curve that causes you to not use the product and can't get the data out of it that you need in real time. So I think that the solution that Outright provides is one where people use it and continue to use it because the data flows automatically. It gives insights into the business that allow the small business owner to make decisions, and those are the types of things that I think are really important for someone who is either considering adding a specific solution to their business because they're using a manual method today, or have stopped using another product because they found it too difficult to maintain over time.
Your explanation there reminds me of dialogue that we have here with merchants, whereby merchants sometimes tell us versions of, I'm an expert in what it is that I sell, and I'm not necessarily an expert on shopping carts or e-commerce.
Yes.
And what you're just saying there kind of fits into that same type of merchants, I suspect. A merchant that is an expert on whatever product they're selling doesn't necessarily want to be an expert on accounting necessarily.
Right. In one sense, it's a little bit like, the best diet for you is the one that you can stick with. So as I think about it, right, the best accounting application for you is the one that you will use and refer to because it's helping you make decisions. So I think that's the philosophy that we've taken in building the Outright application, and we've now got over 200,000 small businesses using the product, and it's been a tremendous joy for me to read the customer comments as to how much more insight folks have now that they have gotten their data to a stage where they can see it regularly. The effort is low to come in and understand what's going on with the business, and that really makes me and the entire team delighted.
We have just another minute or two here. Steven, anything else on your mind for our listeners who, as you know, are mainly e-commerce merchants, mainly smaller merchants?
Yeah, I think that the best way to understand Outright is to listen to some of what our customers have to say. I was just on our Facebook page this morning, which is at facebook.com/Outright, and one of the first customers up there is a business called Barefoot Masters, and the person said, "Hey, I tried QuickBooks and found it tedious. I no longer have to classify my transactions and don't need to use all of the time and energy in the accountant every time I wanted to find out how I was doing. So finally I'm motivated to understand my business and improve." So when I read something like that, or another one that says small guy gets big accounting help, a single person company, hate doing the bookkeeping, right? That emotional reaction that we can turn from disappointment to delight is what I hope that your listeners give Outright an opportunity to prove.
Okay. Well, for purposes of those listeners, we've been visiting with Steven Aldrich. Steven is the CEO of Outright.com. That's a software-as-a-service accounting package. That's at Outright, O-U-T-R-I-G-H-T, Outright.com. And Steven Aldrich, the CEO, we thank you for your time today, sir.
Thank you, Kerry. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have for this week's e-commerce conversation. I hope you enjoyed it. Please tune in next week for another new episode.